Welcome back to the Freedom Kickstarter podcast. So today's guest is Jewade Graham. And as always, I will throw it over to the guests to introduce themselves. So Jewade, tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, my name's Jewade. Thank you for having me here as well.
Very
It's
welcome.
really a pleasure. I'm a mentor and online transformation coach for personal trainers. So essentially, if I had to sum up what I do in one line, it would be to get coaches in great shape and then give them the systems and processes to do the same with their clients. So kind of go through the process and then get the process in its more simplistic form.
Love it. Nice one. So I suppose where we'll kick off is what a lot of people are wondering is, why do trainers need trainers? Surely if they're a personal trainer or an online coach, they're super disciplined, they're motivated, they're dedicated, they've got all the skills. Why would someone need you?
Well, that's a very good question. And I think I always like to lean into my experience, and my experience of the industry as a whole is it's not really respected. And I think that's for a good reason as well, because, well, my entry into the fitness industry was, if I remember rightly, it's many years ago now, like a 6-week course. And we go through training, nutrition, program design. And for me personally, at the time, I was like, oh yeah, I'm ready to go into the real world. And then the real world hit. And it was like, what do I do? So even though I had the knowledge, I knew what I was doing, I love training myself, which is why I got into it, there was still a huge gap missing. And it was like, what do I do with all the information I have? And I spent years fluffing kind of thing and just wading through water. And then I got a coach myself and it was transformative. And I managed to fast track, I would say, my journey years within months. And that was really eye-opening, because it was like, well, if it was that easy just reaching out and getting a coach, why don't more people do it? So for me, it's not that you don't know the information as a personal trainer. It's just collating it in a way that you understand and getting some support and help to move you through your career quicker.
I certainly know I resonate a lot with that. Like when I qualified as a PT, I think it was 2008 maybe. Yeah, very basic course. Like it's almost impossible to fail. They just used to pass everyone. And I think a lot of people don't realise that. It's actually quite scary how little a lot of trainers know. And I don't know if it's changed at all now. I can't imagine it has particularly. But yeah, to me, it was like the level of education, knowledge you had to have was almost dangerous, to be honest.
Massively, because I liken it to, we're not as qualified as doctors, but as personal trainers, we probably have more contact with our clients than a doctor would, because people go to doctors when they're ill. People will book 1 to 3 sessions with their personal trainer just because they can. So a doctor has to train for however many years, 7+, whatever it is. We train for 6 weeks, yet we are the first intervention that's one we'll have when it comes to health and fitness. So like there's a big disparity there. And in my opinion, it should be completely the other way around. Like it should be you do your qualification and then you get mentorship in some form to prepare you to deal with the array of people that you deal with. And as you said, 6 weeks and out, like you're teaching classes, like where do you go from there kind of thing. So it's easy to get lost.
Do you think with more and more people now doing personal training online, it's got better or has it got worse?
Worse. Yeah, worse. But I think as well, like I say that just off the cuff, like it is better because it's more accessible to a lot of people. You're not restricted by a location. But I think it's worse, which I think we'll get onto as well, because people now see online as the easy route and the easy way forward. And I think the online, the Instagram world, it gives people a gateway to, I want to earn a certain amount, rather than the reason why they got into this industry in the first place is I want to help people. So I think online's great, but there is a pathway, I believe anyway, there's a pathway that people should go through before moving online, and that should be personal training, mentorship, a little bit of online, a little bit more online, and then potentially fully online, rather than out PT school, I'm an online coach.
And I think there's always pros and cons about regulation, but there is literally no regulation in online coaching. And certainly I've been out of the industry for, 7 years, probably by this point, 7, 8 years, but I'm still aware of it from the outside. And I see it and I'm like, a lot of people's marketing is around like, oh, you can become an online coach even if you've never trained anyone before. And I think you can, but I don't know if you should. For me, it's like, maybe if you're training bodybuilders and you're a bodybuilder, you're training people who already know how to do the exercises, they already know about nutrition. But if you're trying to train a general population client, in my mind, you should have probably paid your dues, so to speak, with people in the gym, like finding out that actually most in-person clients. They're not that fussed about exercise. They want to talk about other things. They've got problems, injuries, all this kind of stuff. So for someone with zero experience actually training someone to then go and charge people money online, it's something I personally sort of struggle with a bit, I think.
I've got a really strong view. So I would go as far as to say you're not online coaching. I would go as far to say you're an online salesman or you're an online marketer, because if you're just getting people through the door, you're not delivering a result, you're not actually coaching them, you're giving them a plan without doing an assessment, for example. Someone can go and get that off Google. If you're giving them nutrition just based off what you see, someone can go and get that off Google. Like, you're not actually coaching, you're marketing and sales. So I would differentiate between online coaching and online marketing, we'll say. And a lot of people fall into that second category, but call themselves online coaches. So, and that's where I think a lot of disparity lies, and why the industry as a whole has a bad name, and it's probably getting worse from what I hear.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Like I said, I'm seeing it from the outside, but to me, there's a lot of content that is not particularly helpful. It is just, clickbaity. Has very little value outside of, here's how great I look and here's how aesthetic my meals are, which to me is just, there's a time and a place for that. And maybe it's just, that's just my opinion, obviously. But yeah, I struggle with seeing how that translates to kind of real world results and actually helping people.
It falls into, like, again, like with how we are as people, we're very fast paced and we need the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And it's very easy to fall into the trap of catering to what Instagram algorithm tells you to do, because the algorithm will say that if you do a video that's very aesthetic with little information, you'll probably get 1 million views and 100,000 likes. If you do an educational video that will actually help people, there might be 10 people that see that. And from a validation standpoint, which would we prefer? Most people, me included, would prefer the 1 million views, because that would tell us, oh yeah, we're popular, we're this, we're that. Whereas if you're true to your values, which you need to have some values in the first place, you'll probably go for the former, with the one with lower views and likes, etc. So it's a weird place to be in at the moment, I think.
Yeah, the old dopamine hit is very powerful though. So, okay, so let's say I'm a trainer and I come to you. What does working with you look like, and how does training trainers differentiate from maybe training general population?
That's a great question. And I would say it doesn't differ a lot, in my experience. I think even though, and I say this myself as a client, like I've currently got a coach as well, and I would still class myself as general population. Just because I'm a personal trainer doesn't mean I don't have the same barriers, the same difficulties as general population. Like, if we go back to most people's Instagram bio, I train busy professionals. What am I as a personal trainer? I'm a busy professional, heavily reliant on caffeine, little sleep, stressed, living a life outside of work, crazy hours, shift working. Like, it's all the same things that busy professionals would have. So I would class myself as a personal trainer or online coach as that. And the majority of personal trainers are that. So I think the differentiation between general population and personal trainers is smaller than we actually believe. And just because we have a title doesn't necessarily mean that we're any different to those people. But the difference with me and my process is, because we are personal trainers, I take people through that process of normally getting into the best shape of their life. Now, I know that most general population people don't need to go to a photo shoot leanness, but most general population people aren't really interested in training, whereas personal trainers are. So as a personal trainer, your photo shoot might be similar to Susie's 10 kg weight loss, because relatively speaking, it's the same kind of hardship, just that we enjoy it a little bit more. Then when someone's got their result or their outcome, again, going back to the dopamine hit, you've got some lovely images to post on social media, which will help you attract clients. When we get you more clients, we'll then go through the process where we set up your systems and processes to be able to take those clients as an individual and take them through their journey. Potentially not a photo shoot, but at least you'll feel a little bit more confident doing so. So kind of the first thing I would say, just to wrap up, is we are general population no matter who we are. And then the second thing is you get your transformation and then you get the systems to do exactly the same with your clients.
I think it's interesting because we were talking beforehand as well about how you said kind of a bit of an anti-mentoring stance, anti-business mentoring. And I think we'll definitely get onto that. But to me, that's almost like, and you probably said it yourself, but you are still helping people with their businesses because you're providing that social proof. We can argue that how in shape someone is doesn't define how knowledgeable they are. We've kind of seen that with influencers. but it does create a better business card, for want of a better phrase. And I guess, do you try and educate people through the process as well? It's like, okay, we're going to do this. Here's why we're doing that, as opposed to just, you know, you need to do A, B, and C.
Yeah, definitely. Like going back to the influencers, like it's a great business card, but the difference is the influencers, they have the body, they will get people through the door because of their body, but then they won't be able to facilitate anything other than what's worked for them. Whereas when you go through my process, yes, you get the body, but you also get the experience to be able to relate to other people. Like I'm now going for a photo shoot myself, for example, and my last one was 5 years ago, and I came here before we sat down and ate an apple. Because I drove for an hour and I was hungry and I was like, I need to be able to concentrate. But just that relatability means now that I can go and have conversations with my clients. Like, how do you navigate having a busy day or being outside your schedule and not going and stopping at the nearest McDonald's? Well, you bring an apple, you bring a protein bar, you prepare. So for me, the process is, it's about the information, but as we said, like most personal trainers have that information. It's how to implement it for their life, and it's how to work around their life. And if you can successfully do that, you've got your first case study. And the next conversation with your client is, this is what worked for me. Let's find something that worked for you. And then you successful with that client, now you've got 2 case studies. And then as your experience grows, your portfolio of reasoning grows and your ability to have different scenarios grows as well. So for me, I think that's the key about going through the process. It's not so much you will learn the science behind sleep, the science behind stress, which you will, but the applicability of that is, how do you navigate that yourself when you're stressed, when your clients are stressed?
Slightly off topic, what are the hardest aspects of dieting? You mentioned some of them there, but I think a lot of people watching probably would love the idea to be in great shape and be ripped and lean, but often don't think of the realities. What do you find, either personally or with your clients, what are the hardest bits about getting to low body fat?
Right now, being cold, it's summer and I'm freezing. So now, but in all seriousness, I think for me personally, I find like today, I'm okay because I've drove down an hour and a half. I've got an hour and a half drive back. I'm now sitting down. I'm busy all day. The days where I'm a little bit more idle and I've got a little bit more free time and spare time, that's when it's a little bit more challenging, because it's difficult to not focus on food. Like you have to have been there to describe when you're eating food, you've just finished your meal and you're still hungry. And it's like, what is going on here? But again, like I think for me as well, like I lean into hardship. So if it was a bit easier, I probably wouldn't do it, because then everyone would probably do it and it wouldn't be the same. So I like that little badge of like, I've done this now kind of thing.
Yeah, I certainly remember the only time I got properly lean was probably 10 years ago, I think. And it did fundamentally change my relationship with food. As in, before that, I didn't need to be full all the time. I definitely ate for taste rather than volume. And now I'm much more of a volume eater. As in, I'd rather have like a quote unquote clean meal that's massive than like a bit of cake. And it's just, I was amazed how much it changes your psychology around food. And yeah, for me, it's kind of there's still bits of that hang over till today.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because like my expectations of this shoot were a little bit different, because I've done a couple before. Like I'll go back to my first one where I've done what everyone does, a little bit more food focused. You're on their food pages on Instagram, you're saving what you're going to eat afterward, you've got your cupboard full of food, and you're setting yourself up for failure, really, in my opinion. And like this time round, I expected that because that was my previous experience, but I've handled it a lot better. But that might be because I understand what it takes to go through the process. So like, yeah, I think it's a weird distortion between like developing or keeping your relationship with food and then progressing that potentially as well. But like you, like I'm like a robot basically, but I know it's for a certain period of time. Like I don't want variety. I want just satiating, volume, energy. That's it. I'm good.
Yeah, I think for me, it was when protein mug cake started tasting amazing. I was like, right, that's a weird point in the diet when that stuff's tasting good.
Well, do you ever have a food that was protein? What do you say? What was that?
Like a protein mug cake. So you do like the scoop of protein, bit of cocoa powder, bit of baking powder, and then like some almond milk, mix up, put it in the microwave. And it basically makes like a cake type thing.
That sounds good. I'm not even going to go there because that might set me off. But mine was weird. Mine was weirdly avocados.
Okay.
And don't ask me why. My coach, I speak to him still, my coach from my first shoot, and he always remembers, he took my avocado out and he said I went mad on him. I don't remember this, but he was like, what was about the avocado? And I don't actually know because I don't really like avocados. I only eat them when I'm dieting. So I've got certain specific foods that I gravitate towards when times are hard, I guess.
Yeah, I think cottage cheese was one for me as well. Cottage cheese just with Splendor in it, which I think of it now and it just makes me feel slightly sick in my mouth. But yeah, when you're hungry, that stuff was an absolute godsend.
Yeah, some of the things I eat now, cabbage with just salt, and I'm like, literally it's just volume. But again, mindset shift of this is fuel. This is not. That's not even fuel. That's just keep my stomach full kind of thing. So different ways, different lengths we go to. We'll say.
So going back to kind of the business aspect of things and the social media and everything, as you said, you've got quite a strong stance about mentoring. What is it that you think like a mentor's deceiving people? Is there just bad advice out there? Like what's the main problem the way you see it?
I think there's a couple of things. Like the first one, because I do have a problem, if you want to call it that, with majority, not all of mentors, but I stand on this side of the fence if I have to. So that's all mentors. But I think, yes, like the mentors do deceive people, but then I think people want to be deceived. As I alluded to a little while ago, like people now, I think are getting in the industry for the wrong reasons. They want 10K months. They want a laptop lifestyle. They want to facilitate the minimal amount of clients for the maximum return in terms of money and outcome. And I think that makes them easy prey for the mentors that then say, I can give you this. But my problem with business mentoring is that there's not, similar to the barriers of entry to the industry, there's not barriers of entry to the mentoring. So a lot of mentors will have their own first 10K month and then say, I'm a business mentor now, when you haven't grown a business, you just had a good month or two. And you don't really have the right to then say, I'm going to mentor and take over coaches through that. And I think a lot of coaches, they don't actually have a business, which is where I come in. Like, I've got a business mentor, but I've been coaching for 8-9 years now. And I have a business that can then grow. Like, without the consistent results, without the processes, without the systems, without the client retention that comes before you have a business mentor, you need to have a business. So that's kind of my biggest problem, apart from the fact there, Charlotte, let me keep it kosher. Apart from the fact that they kind of con people out of their money, yeah, that's my biggest bugbear.
I've always found it very odd that the vast majority of businesses out there focus much more on just their product or getting results, and they market it a bit, but normally marketing is maybe not an afterthought, but they are so product focused. Whereas it seems online coaching is almost uniquely marketing focused. And it's like, well, if I get results, people, that's cool, that's great. But actually, I just need the right captions, the right reels, this funnel. I need to learn copy. I need to do this with ChatGPT. And I'm like, that it's just always seemed a bit backwards to me. Like you're saying, it's like, get the results first and then go out and market it. Don't market it when you've got zero results.
Yeah, but I think like that's the lack of education, the lack of a barrier, because like in other industries, it's very rare that you can just literally get a laptop, type in your Instagram bio, I am this, and it becomes the truth. In most other industries, you have to go through a ladder of learning, a ladder of experience before you can get to a certain point. And that for me is like one of the big differentiating factors between other industries and personal training. And just like I said earlier, like if you do the latter, what you just said then, you're not really personal training, you're sales, because people, and I've seen it so many times, people don't struggle to get people through the door, but after their initial 3-month payment, go in again. And a business isn't, well, it can be built on sales, but that will always be the bottleneck. A business for me is built on retention. Like if I get someone in for 3 months and whatever ticket it is, versus keeping someone for 12 months, I'd rather have 10 clients for 12 months than 20 for 3 months. Yeah. Because over time, you've then got the platform to then build, but that is what business is.
It's always seemed a bit mad as well, because I think the number of people you hear say, oh, I've been burned by a business mentor, like you don't get that in any other industry either. Like, yeah, people will occasionally say, oh, my builder was crap, or like, oh, my accountant lost me money this year, but you just don't get that level of, like, oh, I've been burned by 20 different solicitors. It's just like, it doesn't happen.
But I think as well, people do a bit more due diligence when they're, and again, to be a solicitor, you have to be accredited. So like that accreditation means that solicitor is, or has a minimum standard of their body of work, whereas business mentors is literally anything and anyone. And like, I do put a lot of the blame on business mentors, but I also put a lot of blame on online coaches. And like, I had a rant on Instagram yesterday about online coaches that just want the world and aren't willing to put any work in. And that willingness to want the world means that they're ready to take shortcuts. So like for me, for example, I've got a business mentor, but I agonized for about a year before I reached out. I went to 2 in-person events and then I was like, okay, it's time now. I didn't just think, I want a 10K a month, I'm going to go and get a business mentor. It was like, I took the same level of care that I would when I'm choosing a physio, when I'm choosing a doctor, when I'm choosing whoever it is. Whereas a lot of people, because they want that instant gratification that comes with the laptop lifestyle, they'll just choose the person with the best captions, the person that tells them that they can do whatever they want to do without any consequences.
So let's say you're in charge of the world. What would you do to fix the situation as it is?
Red button on Instagram. Now, in all seriousness, I'd probably just put a little bit more regulation there for the majority of, I can only speak about the fitness industry because that's what I'm in. But I think to get into the fitness industry, I'd put regulation. So like maybe not a university course, but some kind of extended, maybe a year-long mentoring with people that are regulated to be able to do that. And then in terms of business mentors, just put them all on Dubai. Now, just put them all on the beach and just let them fight it out. The winner takes all. But with business mentors, in all seriousness, it's a difficult one because like I think you should be able to have a proven track record. So if you call yourself a business mentor, let's open your company's house. Let's see what your revenue was for the last 5 years. Let's see how many dissolved companies you have. Let's see how many employees you actually do keep and what you pay your employees. Like, I think become more of an open book for the mentoring side of things, and that would allow me, like if I saw someone's had a 10-year successful business, you probably know what you're talking about. If I see 3 dissolves and two men knocking at your door, debt collectors, I'm probably going to be like, yeah, not for me.
Yeah, I think people are often very surprised at how unregulated and just Wild West the industry is. Like my girlfriend works in financial services and I'll just mention something offhand about, so-and-so mentor did this, or like this is maybe I've worked with someone, I go, oh, this is actually the state behind the scenes. And she's like, how do they get away with that? Because there's no one who keeps any tabs on anything. It's very easy.
It's easy as well because like as PTs and fitness professionals, we're easy targets. Like it's relatively easy for, I say easy within relatively, for a PT to get up to 3, 4, 5K a month, which means they have more disposable income. So a business mentor, if they were to go into any other industry, they would not be able to charge 10K for what they're charging. But we've got like idiot just written on our heads, so like take our money kind of thing. So people can come into this space and be like, I'm worth insert ridiculous amount here, and people will pay that. And I don't see that in any other industry, like where you can just literally come in and just insert a price. And because it's, that's high ticket, it must be good.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't happen anywhere else. So I think, as your girlfriend said, like people only get away with it in the fitness industry because we have disposable income to spend. Like you couldn't go to Sally the cleaner and say you're selling a 5K program because Sally ain't got 5K. Whereas PTs are like, maybe I can squeeze that because I've just done a good week where I've done 30 sessions this week at 50 quid an hour. Yeah, I've got the income there kind of thing. Easy come, easy go.
Yeah, I was talking to someone yesterday and we said it is, again, using that word, it's unique that you look at other industries and it's things like I've got mates who run scaffolding companies that do millions a year and they're literally just putting up scaffolding. That's it. And they don't go on about their income. They don't brag online about how much they're earning. Like they're earning 100 times what a lot of online coaches are making and a lot of what, more than a lot of what, if I can get my words out, more than what a lot of business mentors are promising. But again, it's like, it just seems like this weird flex in the online coaching space of like, 5K months, 10K months. And I do get it, but yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, have you got any thoughts about why the industry got that way? Because I know when I got into it, it just wasn't really like that.
Well, I think it wasn't like that, but I think social media has accelerated that. So like, if I go back to the roots of why I got into the industry, for example, I love training. I like to build my physique. I like looking good. There's a vanity element to that. So what else comes with that vanity? A nice watch. This is a Casio, but a nice watch. It's like, a nice car. A nice house. A nice looking partner. All these things like kind of lay into a lot of people's reasoning as to why they got into the industry in the first place. So I think it was a natural progression. I think social media just accelerated that a little bit. So like, if my body looks good, and I've got a nice watch and I've got a nice car and I've got like, it's all status driven. Like a lot of people started lifting weights because they were insecure, because they didn't like how they looked, they didn't like how they felt. I'll build my physique. Now I've done my physique. these other external validation things come into play in my watch. And the business mentors can play on that because it's like, we know you want this. We've got this. We can give you this. It's an easy sale. It's like, if you have water in the Sahara, you'll sell out straight away. We're basically water in the Sahara.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. It's interesting as well because I remember when I first started training, everyone in the gym would just be in like a tatty pair of shorts, an old t-shirt that you probably used to be going out t-shirt and is now too degraded to wear like that, and just anything on your feet. Whereas now it's like a fashion show in the gym. So I'll probably sound very old and very boring, but I'm like, yeah, the amount of money people spend on gym kit, and it's almost like, what's the phrase they call it, like athleisure gear or whatever. I'm like, it's mad that it spawned another industry.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like, I'm going to sound so like a hypocrite now, because as an online coach, I ask for form feedbacks, which means people have tripods in the gym. But I hate tripods in the gym. So even though I ask my clients for them, but I think as well, like, I think it depends as well, because like a lot of time I see people setting up their tripods and it's a fashion show. They're not even working out. It's like, this is for my latest reel. And it's like flicking the hair or doing a 10-minute pose and whatever else. And then you see one working set. And I think the whole industry has just moved away from, as you said, just getting in scruffy, sweating, training hard, going home, drinking your protein shake, then going home. Whereas now it's just like, it's a lot more aesthetic. Does this look good for social media? Like, I would like to capture more of my training, but it's just I do the same workout. There's nothing fancy, nothing new. I'm in my socks. It's like, I'm just in and out. Like, when I do capture it, I pull it up, but I'm not going to wear a new outfit. You probably see me in the same tracks that you saw me in yesterday, smelling, but it doesn't really matter. I'm doing it for me, not for you, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I love that. Mention your backstory as well. We're kind of getting into the industry. So what was your journey into fitness to begin with?
Yeah, so I got qualified, and being the bougie person that I am, and plus as well, I mentioned like the state of the industry and not being respected. For me, it was like, I don't just want to be a personal trainer. I don't want to be labelled with just being a personal trainer. And I've kind of come 360 now where I'm proud to be a PT, but it was, I don't want to be a personal trainer. What do I want to do? And for me, it was like, well, my granddad died from heart issues. So it's like, cardiac rehab. Okay, cool. This is going to differentiate me from average PTs. Plus, it's an area that I'm interested in. I love how the heart works. I've got experience and whatever with it. I'll go down that route. So I got qualified as a cardiac rehab, where it wasn't like doctors, or I wasn't doing surgery or anything like that. I was just in the community. So basically glorified personal trainer. But it allowed me, like, I had to do some work experience actually, like, with people that had recovered strokes, heart attacks, etc. And I was doing work in the community, and a lot of the people had got to the situation they were in through their own choice. And if there was an intervention a lot sooner, they wouldn't have had that heart attack. They wouldn't have blocked their arteries. And it was kind of like babysitting people to the die, like, not to sound too morbid. But it was really eye-opening for me, because I went from wanting to differentiate myself from the average PT to be like, well, actually, if I'm a good PT, this person probably won't need to go through heart rehab later on in life if they have the right intervention earlier on. And that kind of led me down a different path, because I went from basically like babysitting people while they recover and then still not changing their habits because they've been ingrained for 20, 30, 40 years, to then saying, okay, then what can I do to have an intervention a little bit earlier? And then rather than settling on PT, I went completely to the other end of the spectrum, children and families. And again, I live in an underprivileged area, not so much now, to be fair, lived in an underprivileged area. And I worked in a community project where it was like free activity, accessible, free healthy eating, whatever it was, accessible to the families. But it was targeted at children. But to work with children, you have to work with parents. And I found that even though it was free, service was amazing, no one uptook it. Like, there was no value, even though it was free for them. And that was probably one of the hardest phases of my career. It was like, we're putting all this energy into raising money, raising funding, designing and setting up a project that literally no one wants, even though we know it's going to be beneficial for them in the future. And it was like, what the hell am I doing here? Just go back to PT. So went full circle, went back to PT, but it was like, okay, if I'm going to go back to PT, I'm going to have to be a good PT, which led me to get my own mentor, my own journey, etc.
It's always been something that's kind of fascinated me in terms of with health issues and things like that, how much of it can be sorted with early interventions versus how much is just people maybe they're just not that bothered. And I remember watching something years ago that there was a cooking class set up in an underprivileged area, and it's through half term, and it's going to be a daily thing where basically you came along, you learned about food prep, you learned about healthy shopping on a budget, you cooked a meal, you ate the meal, you went home. And I remember that they did this documentary. On the first day, there were like 40 people there. On the second day, there were about 15. Third day, there were 5. And then no one turned up for the last 2 days. And you're like, kind of as you said, there's this thing that's free. It's teaching you skills for life. And that made me question, because I'd always thought before that everyone wants to be fit and healthy. It's just a lack of accessibility, or it's a cost issue, or probably like a lack of knowledge as well, because I think people often assume that eating healthy is expensive, and it doesn't have to be. You just need to know what to buy and how to cook. But that for me was one of those where I thought, yeah, I don't know if everyone does want to be healthy, but I mean, you've got much more experience than me. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think even like back to my own situation in childhood, like I think it's more ingrained than we think. So like to give you my example, like we didn't have a lot of money growing up. So although I was fit and healthy, like when we sat down for meal times, you could not leave the table until your plate's finished. Now, as an adult, I earn my own money and I earn okay. I can afford not to finish my meal. But that ingrained habit is I'm not leaving this table until my meal's finished. And it doesn't matter how big the plate is, that plate will be finished. So if I was overweight, for example, and I had a big plate, that plate is getting finished. The sensible thing to do would be to have a smaller plate. But that's me being rational. When I'm hungry, when I'm emotional, when I've just had a stressful day at work, I'm not rational. I'm hungry, I'm going to get a big plate. Then my old habits then that are ingrained kick in. I'm going to have to finish this plate now, even when I'm not hungry anymore. And for me now, I'm not overweight, but I also recognize that pattern as well. But that pattern is not too dissimilar to a lot of people that are overweight. Like, I don't think anyone would choose to be massively overweight. I think it comes from responses to their surroundings or a response to how they've been raised. And I'll just give you one specific scenario for myself, because I can't speak for other people, but like there's a few of my clients that I'm thinking of as well, where having worked with them for a number of years now, their relatives and their family members are all health-related issues, and the whole family is overweight. And for them, that was the norm. Like, it was a norm to go to uncle or auntie's house and open a cupboard and see a blood pressure medication tablet, a diabetes tablet. That was normal to see someone doing that at lunch. And it's like, well, if that's normal, when it happens to you, you're just picking up that baton, you're carrying a torch. You don't realise until you have an intervention with a personal trainer, or you get a health scare where it's like, this isn't normal. So I think for me, that, like, yes, people have to take ownership and responsibility for their own decisions and actions, but a lot of it can come down to recognising and breaking free from childhood stuff as well.
What do we do then to intervene at an early age? Are there any sort of strategies you think would be particularly beneficial?
Everyone needs a therapist. That's a really good question, and I don't know. Like, I can just see from my small perspective on what's happening, like, in my little bubble. And I think if you were trying to reverse that on a national level, like, it would be very, very challenging, because, as I said, like, there are projects for the majority of people. Like, if people need help and want help, there normally is access to that. You might have to wait to be seen or to be heard. But I think it would start with schools and education. Like, I haven't been to school in years, but I'm going to assume that the meals at school there's going to be vending machines in schools and stuff like that. Like, just remove them and kind of educate children outside the primary household. Because, like, your parents might not be healthy, but you're at school 6 hours a day. Your teachers could have a lot of an impact on what that child's views are growing up. So, like, off the top of my head, that would be somewhere I would start. But it's a very difficult challenge, and if I could solve it, I'd probably be a very rich person right now.
Well, I certainly remember doing food tech at school. For one thing, I think we had it once a fortnight and only up till like year 9. So what's that, like 14? And we never made meals. It was always, we're going to make a cheesecake this week, or we're going to make scones. And you're like...
Yeah, it's just reinforcing. Like, that's what I mean. And like, but as a kid, it's like, oh, a treat. We'll love that. And it's like, go home, show mum, and mum will praise you for that. Well done, you made your cheesecake. That's good that I made a cheesecake. Let me keep making it. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think, yeah, I think it's a society issue rather than a fitness industry issue. But where you go with that, no idea. Like, I wouldn't even know where to start because it's just a cycle that just seems to have taken a life of its own kind of thing.
And it seems like one of those things where on the surface you go, oh, well, more funding would probably fix that. But to me, I don't know if it would. I think it's an education thing. I think it's that's one area where I think health and fitness being a trend might actually be useful, that it's kind of cool to be healthy to an extent now, whereas it maybe didn't used to be. And I realize I'm dating myself by using the word cool and talking about what kids like. But from the outside, it certainly seems that maybe that's the case where, yes, there are aspects of like the influencer culture that I don't love, but actually, if kids now looking to people who are in shape and healthy, maybe they're more athletes, you get like your athlete influencers now as well. Maybe that's a way to kind of turn the tide slightly.
Yeah, definitely. But then I'm not sure how deep you want to go on this topic, like, because we've got the rise of the jabs that people take now, where I think, yes, it promotes a healthy, like the fitness industry promotes a healthy lifestyle. But now, again, people want instant gratification. There are shortcuts, like people can get fat or out of shape and they don't have to go to the gym. They don't have to work hard. They don't have to change their habits. They can inject whatever this is and they'll be magically be thin. And it doesn't solve the problem because they'll get the physique, they get the body, but the issue isn't the body, the physique. The issue is the mindset, the habits, the routines and everything else that gets there. And like, again, those interventions are still fairly new. So we don't know the psychological impact, the physiological impact just yet. But if our kids are then seeing that, which is again a new thing, what example does that set? Because it's like, yes, we'll be in shape, but at what cost? So yes, I think the fitness industry being more prominent with promoting a healthy lifestyle, yeah, of course that's going to be more beneficial. But then I think there still needs to be a focus on how we do that because now there are still shortcuts to get there.
I think it's normalising extremes as well. Like I say, the jab's the perfect example. We had a guest in the other week, Sam, who's a nutritionist and sports performance specialist, and he talked about how readily doctors will prescribe TRT now, almost like it's a normal thing. Still more so in the States, but he said he's amazed by the number of clients who come to him and say, my doctor said about TRT from this one blood test. He's like, no, you don't need that yet. Like, did they talk about the downsides with you? And the guy's like, no, not particularly. So, right, here are all the downsides. Here's an alternative approach to it. Here's why you probably shouldn't do it until you absolutely need to. And I guess it is like that. I mean, I watched that Liver King documentary the other day, and it's like, again, normalizing insane physiques that either take insane methods, like his dieting approach, or have an artificial way of getting there, shall we say. You're like, yeah, so there's absolutely downsides to
Even I'm going for a photo shoot right now and like, that's not healthy. Like I might look good, but as I said, like I was knackered on the way here, energy was low, I had an apple before I started, like that's not healthy. But I think if you have, it doesn't mean you shouldn't want to get there, by the way, but it has a defined end date. It's not like I'm going to hope to sustain this forever. It's like you can be extreme, but you have to have a plan going into it. You have to have a plan to implement it, and you have to have a plan to come out the other side. And I think that's what a lot of things are missing. Like with the jabs, there's no plan to how do you get off these. With TRT, there's no plan to how do we get off these. With everything else, how do we get off these? It's always, I'm going to get there, and then what? I'm going to rebound, or I'm going to stay on this expensive treatment forever. What then?
Well, almost like you said about the mentors, I think influences in that capacity, more transparency would be nice. As in, okay, it's not maybe a company's house records we're looking at, but let's look at your food diary. Let's look at how well you were sleeping. How many naps did you need to take because you're so exhausted? Like, rate your hunger level 1 to 10 every hour. And when someone looks at that and goes, oh, actually, it was every waking hour was an 8 or 9, all of a sudden you go, okay, maybe so-and-so who does reels that get seen by 500,000 people and looks amazing, maybe she's not quite as happy and healthy as she makes out.
It's scary. And even with AI now, like what people can do with I can put a picture in, I've got 12-pack. It's scary and I think that's where, again, transparency would be key, because I think we're moving into an age now where you can't believe what you see. You can't believe what you read. You can't believe anything unless it's in front of you. And how to get transparency, because like even a food diary could be doctored. So it's like, that's again, $1 million question. Like, how do you keep the authenticity and transparency between like the people we look up to and want to be like versus the actual ability for us to get there. Because like, it's okay saying I want a six pack, but do I want the hunger, cravings, tiredness that comes with it? Maybe not.
Yeah, so I'm personally surprised they've not had something with AI generated content, almost like they have like on Instagram when you have to put it's a paid partnership. I'm surprised we've not had anything yet that's like, if this post is more than 50% AI generated, you have to state it on there. I think some of that is probably coming because I can see massive.
Yeah, I think there's an option on Instagram,
Okay.
but I think it's an option.
Option,
It's
yeah.
not. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
mean. It's not. It's an option,
yeah.
not because I see it like, is this content? And you just click the
Yeah.
button. But then again, like, there would have to be for me some way of insert social media app
Yeah.
being able to recognize it and automatically put in that, because even if it was AI generated, a lot of people are just, I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, just see what you want to see, really. What on the topic of AI, what do you see that doing to the fitness industry?
I think it's good, you know. I say good even though it's not. Like, I think it's good because it's going to flush out the bad coaches. Like, I think we're past the age now where you could just give a fitness plan or nutrition plan and a training program and expect to get a result with that. Like, maybe 5 years ago you could do that, but now someone could literally go on, insert AI, chat GPT, write me and I've done that for myself. I've not done the plan, but I've written it out and it was fairly accurate.
Yeah.
I was like, well, should I get scared now? But I think, like, if you are just doing that and delivering the bare minimum, like, you will get flushed out at some point. Like, all it takes is for someone with money behind them to make an app that does the majority of what a PT does. And I think that's good because, again, that will just shift all the nonsense out. And what will be left is the PTs that actually value human connection. That actually, like, for me, the level of results I get isn't the science, isn't the nutrition, isn't the training plan. It's the ability to have a conversation with someone, the ability to get into their mindset and to let them believe that they can get from where they are now to where they want to be. And the conversation we have in between, like, that's the art of coaching. It's not the training plan. It's not the nutrition plan. Like, as a PT, we see people 1 to 3 hours a week. They're not going to get fit and in shape in 1 to 3 hours. It's the time that they're not with us that they're going to get in shape. So how can we coach them to prepare them for the time they're not with us? Like, that's where AI is going to be really good in terms of flushing out the PTs that are in here just for money.
Yeah, I'm very similar from a copywriting standpoint in terms of, I'll say to people, and this will probably change in literally the next couple of months, but I'll say to copywriters, look, the clients who used to pay you like £500, £1,000 of dollars a month to do captions, that kind of thing, you can probably say goodbye to them because they can get 80% of what they're getting from you for free and they can have it on tap whenever they want. But what you need to do is look at, okay, who can I work with who wants a relationship? Like, if you're useful to people, even if you're shifting your positioning slightly or shifting what you deliver to people, that for me is like, that's the gold standard in business. And it's not fancy, it's not sexy, but if you can be that person who someone can bounce ideas off, they can have a conversation with, even as you said, if they can get all that same info from anywhere online, it's like, yeah, people still want people. We've, had X many hundreds of thousands of years of engineering in our brains that's not going to change because there's a new prompt come along.
In most industries now, there's nothing new. Like, I could learn to perform heart surgery from textbooks. I'm going to go and get a doctor because I want someone's experience. I want someone that knows what they're doing and I want someone that's had 10 surgeries before. Like, with PT, the knowledge that I give someone, go on Google. With copywriting, someone could learn to write copy from Google. Like, people want us for who we are as a person because we connect on to them on a human level. As you said, it's about human connection. And I think AI would give you the opportunity to enhance that. So, like, me, for example, I'm currently exploring how I can utilize AI because I love coaching. So how can AI do some of the stuff that I don't like doing and leave me to do the stuff that I do like doing? I haven't figured it out yet, but I know there's a way. And I think, like, when people go from trying to fight it to just accepting it and saying, okay, then how do I utilize this? Because, like, even with copywriting, you said our captions might be gone, but that's fine because people, like, I've tried to do copy with AI and you can still tell a mile off that that is chat GPT, whatever it is. But, like, I think as a copywriter, if that's what you are, you can still massively utilize that in a lot of your business and still keep your personal touch.
Yeah, well, I was impressed that your mentor and friend of mine, Dan, we were both at his and Mike's event the other week. He talked about when was the last time you sat there and just wrote content for an hour, and they're very bullish on you still need to be able to write from a marketing standpoint, as you said. AI content is quite easy to spot, and it's one of those things. If you don't know what to look for and what to get rid of, then actually you don't know if you're putting out bad content or not, and if people are going to spot that it's AI and all that kind of thing. So this is kind of more of a copywriting thing, but applies to coaches as well. That idea of, look, just because you've got this tool, that doesn't mean you should stop sitting there with ideas. You should stop making notes. You should stop inputting original thought. Like, AI is very useful, but it's not, it doesn't kind of replace you and your human brain, essentially.
Yeah, and like I think being self-employed as well, like we have to wear many hats, and I believe we should wear those many hats just to have an understanding of what those require. So like me, I love coaching, but I've been writing emails to a small list, but I've been writing emails for 2 years now. I've been creating content for years now. I've been learning advertising and Facebook ads for years now. Like, it doesn't mean I want to be an expert in that, but I need to understand it enough so when something or someone comes along that I can gift it to, I have an understanding of what still sounds like me, what still has my message, what is in line with my ethos, rather than just saying, oh yeah, go and write this for me, and then it comes back and I don't even know how to critique it or understand it.
Yeah, and from a wider perspective as well, I think that if you just rely on AI for everything, you're probably going to become quite a boring person. If you go, oh, I fancy going to Thailand, but let me just ask AI what Thailand's like instead. Or I want to learn about this topic, I'm just going to ask AI rather than go and read a few books on it. I'm like, what would you ever have to talk about apart from AI? If you're not reading books, if you're not having experiences, if you're not talking to people, you end up with, we've probably seen movies like it where, where everything is done through apps and through phones and things, but it's potentially quite scary for human development.
Yeah, but like literally, like even like this now, like I followed you probably don't know, but I followed you for quite a while. And then when the opportunity arose to take a drive up and sit down in person, I value that human connection, because like now I'll probably be like, hi, if it's in your street, you still be like, he's a weirdo, but you'll know who I am. I know that weirdo now. But whereas like on a screen, like it's so hard to build that connection. Like I try to, with all my clients, where possible, meet them in person at some point, because, and like the in-person stuff, like people are bigger than I expected, and I'm like, fucking hell, you're huge, or someone's a little bit smaller, and you're like, do you know what I mean? And it's just, I think with how things are now, people have become accustomed to being behind the screen, and yes, it's great for certain things, but it takes away a lot of how we can develop relationships as people. And as you said, like especially with the evolving world, relationships are really important. So if you can maximize that as much as possible by the in-person meetups, by whatever it is, going out of your comfort zone, by all means do that.
I guess it almost brings it back full circle to what we were saying about the pathway to going online as a coach as well, really, in terms of how do you coach someone effectively online if you haven't done it in person? Because there's so much to learn in person from having those conversations with people. But yeah, I just think it's kind of testament to that as well, really.
Yeah, definitely. Like a lot of I'm now confident dealing with most scenarios online, because in my head, I can always think back to a scenario that I've dealt with it in person.
Yeah.
And it's like someone said something, oh, that's similar to insert client here. This is what worked for them. So we'll start here and then we'll change it as it needs for you. With exercise, getting a video feedback, it's so difficult to just see something from a video. But because I've had that 360 view in person, I can then imagine, this is what that looks like from there. Or say, this is the angle I need, because I know what angle I need from seeing it in person, kind of thing. And I think for PTs, like if you are going straight online, like a lot of PTs that come through my doors or have been through my doors that have gone straight online, like they're lost. And it's because they don't have any experience to go off. Like a textbook will only get you so far. It tells you what you need to know, but it doesn't tell you anything other than that.
Yep.
And sometimes we need to know more than that. We need to be able to gather information, have conversations, see things from a different lens or a different angle. And the in-person experience will give you that.
Love it. Awesome. We'll bring things to a wrap with the final 5 in a minute. But first up, Jewade, where can people find you if they want to get in touch?
Well, Instagram. Even though I don't really like it, I do like it. Instagram's my main channel. Podcast coming soon, but Jewade Graham Coach, so at Jewade Graham Coach on Instagram's the main place you can find me.
Perfect. I should pop that down in the description for the video as well. So yeah, final 5. First question, if you could gift any business, marketing, copywriting or mindset book to someone, we'll add in fitness and coaching book as well if you want to. Which book would it be and why?
Good question. I can't remember the name of the author, but it's Unreasonable Hospitality. And it's a customer service. So it's massive.
Awesome. But I don't think I've heard of that actually. So yeah, I'll definitely check that one out.
Really good, but I'll give you the name of the offer when we finish.
Perfect. I'll put that in the description as well. Question 2, we're going for coffee and I'm buying. What's your order?
Mocha.
Nice.
Double dose of hot chocolate.
Still when dieting, or are we on the black Americanos when dieting?
I'm on sweeteners at the moment.
Question 3, you're in charge of the internet for a day and you can get rid of one social media platform. Which one is it?
Snapchat.
Okay.
No, TikTok.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement there. Question 4, you're hosting a dinner party, can have 3 people living or dead. Who do you want to invite?
Mike Tyson, one of the gorillas that is going to fight, and probably, who's the third one? Messi, football.
Nice, good mix. And final question, what's the one piece of advice you'd give to someone who wants to get where you are?
Don't rush and don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Like, for me, I've taken shortcuts. And I say shortcuts, I've invested in people that are further ahead than I am. So if I had to put my success down to something, it's that. It's like being willing to invest and just learn from someone's experience.
Fantastic. Love that advice.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you, Jewade. Really appreciate your time today.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Thank you as well for watching at home. So I'll put all the stuff down in the description of the video. As always, if you wouldn't mind liking the video, drop us a comment, subscribe, share it, all that kind of stuff. That'd be much appreciated. And I will catch you on the next episode.